Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and here on my channel I make crystal videos, small business videos. Be sure to subscribe because I put out new videos every week and I've been doing a really good job at putting out new videos every single week, even through the move. If you didn't notice, I moved. My last video was me setting up my personal collection crystal shelf that you see behind me, so if you'd like to see those crystals, go through them, talk about where I got some of them, that is my last video. I will have it linked. Today's crystal chat video is about two different minerals, Chrysocolla and Shattuckite. I'm combining these two into the same video because maybe it's just me, but I can barely tell the difference between these two and they look so similar. So this video was inspired by my own curiosity on what is the difference between Chrysocolla and Shattuckite. The reason Chrysocolla and Shattuckite look so similar is because they both contain copper, which gives them their vibrant blue color. While they both contain copper, they have different crystal structures and slightly different compositions. So first, let's talk about Chrysocolla, which you might be more familiar with. Chrysocolla is a hydrated copper phyllosilicate mineral that is formed from the weathering of other copper minerals, which makes it a secondary mineral. When rocks containing copper are exposed to acidic water, the copper can leach out and leads to the deposition of Chrysocolla. Chrysocolla is known for its unique greenish blue color, but can also be seen in more vibrant shades of blue depending on its location. In the field, minerals such as malachite, chrysocolla, azurite can be seen on the outside of rocks to indicate that copper is in the area. The hardness of Chrysocolla varies a little bit, but it's usually around 2 to 4 out of 10 on the Mohs scale of hardness. Chrysocolla has an orthorhombic crystal system, but it very rarely forms actual distinct crystals. It is most often found botryoidally in veins with a cryptocrystalline structure, which means that the individual crystals are so tiny they can't even be seen with a microscope, or in an amorphous form, which means there is no orderly crystal structure at all. Chrysocolla is very often found alongside other copper minerals such as azurite or malachite. If you ever see red or reddish brown mixed in with Chrysocolla, this is a mineral called cuprite, which is a copper oxide mineral. This combination of blue Chrysocolla and red cuprite is known as Sonora Sunrise or Sonora Sunset and was originally discovered in Sonora, Mexico. Cuprite and Chrysocolla can be found in other locations as well, but this material with the vibrant red and blue is specifically found in this area. Chrysocolla from Peru also has cuprite, but it is more of a darker reddish brown color. Malachite is easy to identify in this mix because of its unique green color, and azurite can be seen as a dark blue. Azurite sometimes forms big, beautiful crystals, but it's not super common in these kinds of mixes. Here's an example of what a raw copper rock might look like out in the field. It doesn't have any super big distinct crystals, but you can see the blue azurite and the green in it. And here's what azurite can look like with bigger distinct crystals. And it has little touches of malachite and chrysocolla in it. Dioptase is another copper mineral that you might see in combination with these other minerals. It's a beautiful emerald color and is usually found in well-defined crystals. Dioptase is kind of a similar color to malachite, but it's pretty easy to tell the difference between the two because dioptase is usually found in large, distinct crystals, whereas malachite usually isn't. And even when malachite does grow distinct crystals, they're more of a fibrous texture, which looks very different than dioptase crystals. There are so many very similar copper minerals that all form together, and they really create some beautiful, unique pieces. Something I've never discussed yet in a crystal chat video is something called specific gravity. The specific gravity refers to the density of a mineral. The measurement given for specific density is the density compared to the density of water. 2.6 is a standard measurement of specific density for an average mineral such as calcite, so anything that is above 2.6 is considered to be heavier and more dense, and anything below that is more lightweight. Chrysocolla on average has a density of about 2.15, which means it's a pretty lightweight mineral. Here's an example of a piece of Chrysocolla I got. I'm pretty sure this was from Arizona, but I got it so long ago I can't even remember. I had never seen Chrysocolla like this at the time, but it's noticeably very, very lightweight. And here is a piece of Chrysocolla I have from Peru. They're actually pretty lightweight compared to a mineral like malachite. Especially in this piece, you can tell it's very light. And I think now, after doing all my research, I'm pretty sure this darker blue material in here is Shattuckite. So I think this is a mix of Shattuckite and Chrysocolla from Arizona. So malachite has a specific density of 3.8, and Chrysocolla is very often found with malachite, which can give it a heavier density than you would expect from just plain Chrysocolla. And here's a piece of malachite with Chrysocolla. It's actually in my shop right now. So compared to the just Chrysocolla piece, it's a lot heavier because it has that inclusion of malachite. Obviously, they're also different sizes, but like comparatively, I can tell that this is heavier than this would be of the same size. Chrysocolla is found in many places across the world, including Peru, Congo, Mexico, Arizona, California, New Mexico, Australia, Argentina, Russia, and more. The Chrysocolla I've had in my shop personally has been mostly from Peru, but I did have these really unique raw Chrysocolla specimens. Those were from Congo. I totally forgot I had these in my shop until I was looking at pictures for this video. I forgot how much I loved these. I might have to get some more. They also did have dioptase crystals on a lot of them, which was so pretty. Also, whenever I have malachite Chrysocolla mix, that is also from Africa, not Peru. This is a different type of Chrysocolla. It's often called turquoise or turquoise Chrysocolla. This is from Peru. It is very lightweight, as you would expect from plain Chrysocolla. So as you can see, it can look quite a few different ways. Malachite is very closely related to Chrysocolla specifically, so you'll very often see pieces of malachite such as stalactites like these that have Chrysocolla mixed in with them. It's pretty safe to say if you see malachite with these blue-green stripes or inclusions within them, that is Chrysocolla. It's very common. Here's a really good example of it. This is one of my favorite crystals I've ever seen in my life. I saw this at the Tucson Gem Show. I'm not even sure if it was for sale. It was kind of in an exhibit type thing, but this is such a beautiful example of Chrysocolla growing with malachite in a stalactite form. If I have any secret admirers out there who want to buy this very expensive crystal for me, just let me know. So let's move on to Shattuckite, which you might not be as familiar with. Shattuckite is named after the Shattuck mine in Arizona, which is where it was first discovered. It is a copper silicate mineral that comes in various shades of blue, and it looks very similar to Chrysocolla. It is also found alongside other copper minerals such as Chrysocolla, malachite, azurite, cuprite, and more. And Shattuckite also has an orthorhombic crystal system, but you'll usually see it in a fibrous, radiating crystal form. It actually can sometimes look like a blue version of fibrous malachite. This radiating crystal structure can be seen really well in a piece like this, which is Shattuckite on quartz. Like, you can see those cute little crystal balls with the little needle structure. It's really cool. Both Chrysocolla and Shattuckite can be found within quartz and mixed with it, which gives it more of a diluted look. Shattuckite has a hardness of 3.5 out of 10, which is basically the same as Chrysocolla. Like I mentioned, Chrysocolla has a specific density of about 2.16, whereas Shattuckite has a specific density of 4.11. So if you're comparing two specimens of the same size and they're not mixed with any other minerals, you'll expect the Shattuckite to be a lot heavier than Chrysocolla. Shattuckite is more rare than Chrysocolla, but they're found in just about the same places, such as Arizona, California, New Mexico, Namibia, Congo, and Mexico. For the safety and care of both Chrysocolla and Shattuckite, they are pretty soft minerals. Therefore, you should avoid getting them wet for longer than a quick rinse if absolutely necessary. Extended exposure to water, especially salt water, can damage the stone. And as always, don't consume any water that your crystals have been soaking in, especially when it comes to Chrysocolla and Shattuckite, because they do contain copper, which could potentially leach into the water along with other elements, and you don't really want to be drinking that. Both of these minerals are perfectly safe to wear, to handle, to own, as long as you're careful not to damage the soft stone. They're also safe to be left in the sun for short periods of time. They don't really fade very easily. Gem silica is another material that looks extremely similar to Chrysocolla and Shattuckite and is even found in a lot of the same locations. Gem silica is a variety of chalcedony, which is a microcrystalline type of quartz. This material, like the others, gets its color from copper inclusions. It is sometimes called Chrysocolla chalcedony or gem silica Chrysocolla if the inclusions that give it its color are from the mineral Chrysocolla. But if you're uncertain if it gets its color from Chrysocolla specifically, then the best name for it is just gem silica. Gem silica has a hardness of 7 out of 10, which is a lot higher than both Chrysocolla and Shattuckite. This is because of its silica content. I don't really see gem silica getting confused for Chrysocolla or Shattuckite very often. It's usually found in like smaller amounts, raw pieces or jewelry, but I wanted to include it because it looks very, very similar to these other two minerals. And just like with the other two that we've talked about, gem silica likely has inclusions or is formed with these other materials like malachite, azurite, Chrysocolla, or Shattuckite. They're all very, very closely related and very often found together. The biggest difference between this material and Chrysocolla and Shattuckite is its silica content, which gives it a much higher hardness, which can be used to identify it and differentiate it from the others. So how do you tell the difference between Shattuckite and Chrysocolla? Unfortunately, these copper minerals just look so similar and have extremely similar compositions that it can be really difficult to tell the difference, especially since they are often formed together. The biggest, most obvious difference is the crystal structure. In some pieces, the crystal structure may be visible enough for you to be able to use this as a deciding factor, but not always. Shattuckite is more likely to have visible crystals than Chrysocolla is, and like I said, they kind of have a fibrous, radiating structure and form in little balls. And these little tight bunches look a little bit different than Chrysocolla's botryoidal structure, which doesn't have those needle-like crystals. It is a lot softer looking. And like I mentioned, for Chrysocolla, it very, very rarely forms in distinct noticeable crystals. Chrysocolla looks a lot more grainy and has no noticeable crystals or texture. Another big difference between the two is the color. Chrysocolla has a more green-blue color most of the time. Shattuckite is much more blue, and it is often a darker blue, more vibrant blue, although sometimes there is a little bit of crossover between the color. Could be Chrysocolla, it could be Shattuckite. Sometimes it's really similar. I think this is a good example of Chrysocolla can be a lighter blue like this, also like those raw pieces I had in my shop that I mentioned. It's a lighter blue. Shattuckite is this more darker, vibrant bluey blue, or Chrysocolla will be more blue-green like these. Unfortunately, I don't have any Shattuckite in person to show you the difference, but I'll insert some pictures on what pieces are like obviously Shattuckite versus obviously Chrysocolla, and some pieces that are kind of a mix of the two, hard to tell. Because Shattuckite and Chrysocolla have very similar hardness levels between 2 to 4, a scratch test is not going to be a very useful tool when deciding if it's Chrysocolla or Shattuckite. While Shattuckite and Chrysocolla have very different specific gravities, this is only a useful tool to identify what kind of mineral you're looking at if the specimen is just one mineral, like just Chrysocolla, just Shattuckite. Unfortunately, these are always mixed together. It's kind of hard to find solely just one or the other. So when it's mixed with other minerals, this isn't going to be a very useful identifying factor. Normally, Chrysocolla is easy to identify because it's very, very lightweight compared to the others, but it's also very often mixed with malachite, which is a lot heavier. Unless you get the material tested or you have a very identifiable piece, you probably aren't going to be 100% sure if the piece is Chrysocolla or Shattuckite. It's a safe assumption that most pieces are probably going to have a mix of different minerals within it. So it could be Chrysocolla and Shattuckite and azurite and malachite. I would love to be able to give you an easy, foolproof method for differentiating between the two, but really they're just so similar. Some pieces are really easy to tell the difference between, and some are just probably going to be impossible without testing. The best bet for trying to identify these pieces is going to be their slight differences in color. I mentioned a lot of different minerals in this video, but for the metaphysical properties, I want to focus just on Chrysocolla and Shattuckite. They have very similar properties, so first I'll talk about their shared properties and then point out a couple differences between the two. Because of their beautiful blue color, both of these minerals are associated with the throat chakra. They are both great for communication and help us to openly share our thoughts and feelings with other people. Both of these stones encourage self-awareness and promote living in your personal truth. They allow you to freely express yourself and overcome any fear of judgment. Chrysocolla and Shattuckite are both great for healing past emotional situations and can help you when working through trauma. They also heal and strengthen connections you have with other people, even if you've had difficulties with them in the past. These are great stones to work with if you need emotional support in difficult times or want to improve a relationship with someone. Chrysocolla is associated not only with the throat chakra, but also the heart chakra. It has a calming, peaceful energy that promotes compassion for other people. Working with Chrysocolla allows for more peace and forgiveness in your life. Chrysocolla helps promote personal power and allows you to work through limiting beliefs that are holding you back. It brings a boost of energy and inspiration to achieve your goals and live as your highest self. Shattuckite is associated with the throat chakra and the third eye chakra and allows for not only communication with other people, but also the spirit realm. When working with Shattuckite, you may experience more synchronicities and messages from spirit guides. Working with Shattuckite can increase psychic abilities and intuition. It's great for lucid dreaming, meditation, and remembering past lives. Shattuckite helps you to feel a sense of completion and wholeness in your life. So Chrysocolla is great for emotional healing and communication with people in your life, whereas Shattuckite helps you to connect and communicate on a more psychic level. So that's all I have for you today about Chrysocolla and Shattuckite. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learned something new. I know I learned a lot while looking into this topic for the video, and while I do wish there was more of a conclusive way to identify between these two, I do feel like I have a better understanding of it now. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more crystal videos. As always, I have my crystal shop, Cosmic Geology, and my second channel linked down below, as well as my other assorted links. I'd love to know what other crystals or topics you'd like to see me talk about next, so be sure to comment down below if you have any suggestions. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.